At FlightLogger, we have created a lot of reports in order to help reduce the cost of production in ATOs and AOCs. But some customers have often asked us for very customer-specific requests regarding reports on flights. It could be the total production hours for all instructors or all students on certain programs, or it could even be the ability to calculate the VAT returns on fuel costs based on the fuel coefficient that we already have. Together with Airways Aviation, FlightLogger has now developed a clever way to allow all our customers to create any kind of report based on the flights in Excel. And to demonstrate this, we have even taken us the time to actually create a very advanced spreadsheet that shows and demonstrates how you can exploit the flight report and hereby extract very efficient production data about, for instance, here as an example is the aircraft hours. It all starts with the flight report in FlightLogger. So what you need to do is to understand is that we really want you to export your data into a CSV file. CSV stands for comma-separated values, and it's often used by spreadsheet applications like Google Spreadsheet or Excel. So let me start by showing you the flight report. Basically what it does is it's intended to extract a lot of data, actually all data we have on the flight, on each flight. And the idea is that you can take any month out, and let's just for the purpose of this try and take out let's say the 1st of October 15 until the 31st of December 15, because I know there's a little production data there. So I hit the find report, and you will see paginated what kind of data we output. So the idea is not for you to sit and read it here. The idea is really that you need to select export to a CSV file. And what happens now is really that a file gets exported, and this file, if I look it up on my file system, I can actually preview it. And not only that, I can open it in a text editor and you can see what it is. It's really just a headline, and then underneath each data contains like the date, the aircraft type, what type of operation activity there was, and so on. Whether it's rental, as you can see here, and who did what. Now, in order to use this, we need to open and import it into Excel. Now, to import this into Excel, what we do is that we bring up the Excel and open an empty spreadsheet, and there's some differences in versions on Excel based on what country you're in. Here in Denmark, for instance, we have some comma and decimals that are different from elsewhere. But what I do is I start by saying import, and the pop-up you get is really asking for different formats, and it's the CSV file format you need to select. And as you see, immediately in my download folder I have this file that has the date and the UTC time on the export. And what I do is I choose to get data. Now what comes next is important. Sometimes people have a standard of fixed width. You need to choose delimited. And the next thing is, because we want to support special characters in like student names and instructor names, you need to go down and select the option called Unicode UTF-8. That's what you need to choose. Next, you need to select the comma as the delimiter, which is what delimits your columns. We go on to the next, and here in certain countries it's important that you change the decimal separator. Here in Denmark I need to change it to be dot, the dot as the separator for decimal, and thousands can be comma. So that's the default setting you should have, and I think in UK, for instance, you would have the dot and comma by default. When you've done that and hit the OK, you import the data, and the data now comes in as values. So if I want to update an advanced spreadsheet with these data, I'll select all the data, and in order for me not to destroy my formulas, I do a copy command. So I select the copy. And what I do next then is I go into my advanced spreadsheet, and in my area here I can clean out all this data, and then afterwards I can hit the paste special and insert the values. This is the proper way, and then I hit the OK button. This is the proper way to overwrite the FL data section of the sample spreadsheet that I've done. This actually allows you not to destroy the formulas. Sometimes Excel can be a little advanced to work with, and if you do like this and delete rows, it starts updating formulas all over your spreadsheet. But by following this strategy, you will never destroy these formulas. So let's go in and have a look at this flight report that you can download from the link that is included. The first page really is a page you need to customize in order for this to work. It is the amount, it's all your aircrafts divided into what kind of aircraft it is. So I have chosen in this Excel spreadsheet to work with single engine types, multi-engine types, and 2 types of simulators. And naturally you can start amending all these formulas and set up all these things yourself in any way you like. But for the sample purpose, I've put in the aircraft call signs and the types that I want to work with in my data. If you go and have a look at the data, you'll see how you can extract out of all these production data. I've done some spreadsheets over here where you can see what kind of active aircrafts do we have that I need to take into consideration. That's called activity aircrafts. So on all the data I've input, these names are names that are used throughout the reports, or sorry, the flights. And I even did a small extra thing. I calculated how many flights each of the aircrafts had done in my data set. I also did other stuff like which departure airports were used, which arrival airports were used, and all of these tabs is really just to demonstrate to you the different kind of formulas up here that can be used to extract data out of the flight logger data. Even the types as well that I need to specify and use in my setting can be seen here. So I know that these are the types I need to have put into my setup for this report to work. So you'll see down here that there's a lot of tabs, and it all accounts for what it is we can demonstrate for you, how advanced it is you actually can do your reporting. Now let's go back and have a look at some of the important reports. For instance here, this is an aircraft report, and what it does is, based on the engine types you have entered in setup, you can see the list here, and we then divide the flight data into hours based on revenue and operations. And I call it revenue. This is solo flights, it's fuel and SPIC, and it's rental. These flights are divided, and all my operations are put into the operations section. And I then got the totals out here. And note it's comma, so you have 41,92. So it's not like minutes that are at the end here in this end. That is what we're doing in the flight report, but this has been converted into decimal numbers instead. So at the top, you actually have the ability to change your time period that you want to take out data for. So I can go in here and change and say, I only want, on my data set, I only want a report of January. And immediately it recalculates all the numbers based on the dates you have at the top. Naturally, the dates you choose should be dates that are available in your data set on all these flight data that you receive from Flight Logger. So if you only extract like February, it doesn't make sense to actually put in January here. And to help you out, I've added the first entry and last entry dates below here just to show you what date range is available within your Flight Logger data set. Not only do we have these reports here, and now I can turn this up and use the last date here, but not only do we have the dates here underneath, I've actually done some totals on the multi-engine. I've done something on the different sim types, and for this purpose I just did for fun, did a 172 simulator and then a Boeing simulator, just for the fun of it. And below that I even did a more advanced split on operations. Now this is all done automatically, this list here, and it's based on one of the setups I did. We actually extract into this all operations, which allows me to do this operations list automatically. And in my listing down here under the aircraft hours, I'm now able to automatically have them put in here, and these formulas below, they are actually based on the names that are put in automatically at the top. Note there's a limit to how many of these operations you can have, but really it separates and gives you an overview on how the income hours on the operations were divided, or cost hours, depending on how you see this, how they divided. So this report really shows you how detailed you can get knowledge per monthly basis of aircraft hours. But we also did activities per instructors, and you can here see in the period you downloaded of your flight data, you can actually see how many flights were accounted for by each instructor. And yes, these names are either instructors with a number, or flight logger employees that you look at down here. So that was just for the fun of it, to have some funny data. You see how Kenneth is the most active of us all, but you probably already knew that. So next comes instructor hours. So based on that list of instructors, I can now also build a long list of total hours, and exactly the same way it can be amended, so I can see everything we did in January in this list, which then, as you see down here, it's quite complex, so it starts recalculating this, and it actually recalculates based on the new dates that you enter. So really what you have here is the divided activities per instructor on how many hours were actually done. And perhaps instructor 01 should have had more activity unless he was on vacation or something. But it gives you an insight into what you've been doing. Next report example is now student hours. And again, once again, we have the activity on students, where you can see it down here as a list of the students and the amount of flights. If you go into the student hours, you'll be able to see that I've added here, just did a total hours that were too high perhaps, but I can do January only, and it starts the recalculation. And when it's done, you see the hours down here, and some might be empty because those only have activity on other programs. Now look how I divided it into each course that you also can see in the activity list down here. So if I go out here, I have the activities on programs here, the courses. So you can see here the different programs, and if I add them then in here, I can make my formulas automatically link. If I click here, you can see how it highlights what the formula in this field is dependent upon. So it's dependent on the name of the student and the program. The next field, the same way, it's the name of the student and the program and the dates. So this way I have a long list here divided on an activity on this program, and underneath it I have another program that I wanted to do where it's other hours for each of the students that have had activity on that program. So I hope you can imagine that you can do all kinds of formulas that span across almost any kind of summation and so on, that allows you to get a really good overview of what's happening production-wise on your account. And with this, I wish you the best of luck in trying out our spreadsheet. Please note that FlightLogger does not answer support issues regarding Excel, but naturally if you have any problems with exporting the CSV file, you're more than welcome to give us a small email on support@flightlogger.net. Best of luck with this new tool.